In this video, I explained why I personally think you do yourself some good if you start investing in Bitcoin for the next 10 years. If you start buying Bitcoin in pieces every single month or every single week or every single day, continuously for the next 10 years, I believe you do yourself some good if you do that. I'm going to go through a chart, but before that, let me let people understand that I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a crypto enthusiast who is going to speak based on at least what has happened in the financial space for the last 10 years. If you're in the financial space or the investment space, you know that past or previous performance doesn't guarantee future performance. And so let me just issue this disclaimer and let's go straight into the video. So this is a chart comparing global asset class values from 2015 versus 2025, and so the last 10 years. Now, when we say global asset class values, basically it is where people are sort of storing their wealth or their money, right? And so the chart clearly shows that a lot of people are still storing their money in real estate. And so real estate is taking the lead with over $200 trillion, right? And so the blue chart or the blue bar indicates 2015 and the orange bar indicates 2025. So we realize that in 2015, with real estate, it was high, but in 2025, it has come down. So it simply means a lot of people used to put their money in real estate 10 years ago. Today, people are not really putting their money in there, right? Now, you look at bonds, you realize that bonds has increased. So people used to buy government bonds in 2015, about 100 trillion worth of government bonds in the whole world, and then in 2025 it has even gone high. So I mean, people buy these things to sort of preserve, just for the want of a better word, preserve the value of their money due to inflation, right? If you have $100,000 sitting in a bank account, now what you can do with $100,000 today obviously will not be the same thing you can do with $100,000 10 years to come. And so for the financial literate people, what they do is they use that money to invest in an asset class so that in at least in the future that money will still have some value. So basically that's what we are talking about. So people now from 2015 to 2025, people now put a lot of money in government bonds to sort of preserve the money. Now, public equity. So public equities, stocks and the like. So in 2015, yes, people were putting their money in stocks, but in 2025, a lot more people are doing so. And then you are seeing gold. So people are also putting their money into gold, or people were putting their money into gold in 2015, but now a lot more people are doing so. And then private markets, people also putting their monies in the private market, and now it's more like, for the private market, you realize that it's more like the same, right? Nothing has changed. Now look at crypto. So in 2015, mainly Bitcoin, we are talking about Bitcoin, right? So in 2015, you realize that we are not even seeing any charts for crypto, but today we are seeing that a lot of people are putting their money in crypto. Now let's go into the figures, and that's where I think the magic is. Now so this is the summary table for 2015. You realize that people had their money in crypto, especially Bitcoin, and people had about $7 billion, right? So people were putting their money and storing their money in Bitcoin, and it was just about $7 billion. I mean, $7 billion is not just, but you understand, for the purposes of this analysis, right, as compared to all these asset classes. Now, the fifth one, private markets, around 3 to 5 trillion. And so if you realize that in the top 6 asset classes, Bitcoin was the lowest in 2015. It had 7 billion. And then the fifth position had 3 to 5 trillion. So you know the difference between 7 billion and then 3 to 5 trillion. The difference is extremely huge, right? And then gold had 6 trillion. Public equity stocks had 62 trillion. Bonds had 100 trillion plus. And then real estate had 217 trillion. This was in 2015. Now, obviously in 2015, a lot of people didn't understand crypto. A lot of people didn't know. The space was not really that opened as it is today, right? Today, we are having governments come in. We are having companies come in and the likes. And personally, I believe that the adoption is going to grow once people discover what crypto is, right? People are still on the edge when it comes to crypto. But I think that in the next 10 years, people will get to know more about crypto and people will decide to put their money into crypto. And so from 2015 to 2025, now let's look at 2025. Look at the jump crypto had, especially Bitcoin, from 7 billion to 2 trillion in 10 years. And it is the fastest growing asset. It has not even happened before, right? Crypto is still at the 6th position, yes. But you see, it was having $7 billion. And today, 2.5 trillion in just 10 years. And then you have the private markets being around the same 4-6 trillion. You have gold also increasing because I think gold was 6 trillion, right? Gold was 6 trillion and now gold has doubled in the last 10 years. To 12 to 18. Now, real estate used to be 217 trillion, and now real estate is 200 trillion. So real estate lost 17 trillion. And then bonds still on the high, public equities on the high side. But I realized that crypto made a huge jump from 2015 to 2025. Now, I'm telling you, in the last 10 years, unprecedented. I'm not saying that past or previous performance is a guarantee for future performance. But what I can tell you is that if there is any time or any moment for any person to really be concerned about crypto, it is a moment like this. Because one thing about Bitcoin, we are talking about Bitcoin. So one thing about Bitcoin, as we've come to know, is the supply is finite. Now, with gold, the supply is not finite. But with Bitcoin, the supply is finite in the sense that we know the total number of Bitcoins. You don't know the total number of gold in the world. But we know that there are only 21 million Bitcoins. And once it is done, once the miners are done mining it, now Bitcoin will be in the hands of these corporate bodies, banks, and then governments. Do you think they are easily going to sell it? Let me just give you something, right? So for the next 10 years, now America is planning to pass legislation to create a Bitcoin reserve. Now, every single country or most countries have gold reserves. And so they get money, they buy gold and sort of support their currency and economy with that. Now, America is planning to get a Bitcoin reserve. And then the plan is to purchase 1 million Bitcoins. That's what America wants to do. So there are 21 million Bitcoins. Currently, we have just about close to I don't think it has gotten close to 20 million in circulation, but there are 21 million Bitcoins, and America wants to get a one, right, as a reserve. Companies are buying every single time. Whales are buying. Financial institutions are purchasing every single time, right? In America, they are sort of, it's currently in the early stages, but they are planning to allow banks to purchase Bitcoins for customers. And you see, the deal is that it will get to a point where all these institutions will be the ones acquiring Bitcoin. They will be accumulating Bitcoin. And once you get to the 21 million in full being in circulation, it simply means there isn't going to be any more Bitcoin into the system. I hope you understand what I'm saying. There will be no production, for the want of a better word, there will be no production of Bitcoin. Bitcoin will be in the hands of these big institutions, right? Now they are going to dictate the price of Bitcoin. And you can't tell me that American governments or these institutions or banks will be purchasing Bitcoin today at the price of $100,000 and expect them to sell the Bitcoin to you at the price of $50,000. Obviously, it's not going to happen. If there's one thing we know about these companies, they are obviously not going to sell at a loss. Okay, so this is one of the reasons why I personally think Bitcoin for the next 10 years is going to be huge. The past performance, even though you can't use that to predict the future. I mean, we say that for equity, we say that for bonds, we say that for gold and everything. All we say is that you can't use past performance to predict the future. But then it's the past performance you use for technical analysis. Every single person who trades knows this, right? So yes, past performance of Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, as an asset class for the last 10 years, we've seen how it jumped. And clearly you are seeing that in the next 10 years, it is likely Bitcoin is going to overtake private markets and maybe try going for gold. And so this is one of the reasons why I think for the next 10 years, you need to be investing in Bitcoin. For the next 10 years, put your money in Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin. And then I think your family will be proud. You thank yourself for taking this action or this decision. Now, let me just do a comparative analysis between Bitcoin and gold, because a lot of people also purchase gold. So let's just look at the comparative analysis for the last 10 years. So you realize that for the last 10 years, in 2012, Bitcoin rose by 189%, and then gold did 5%. In 2013, Bitcoin did 5,428%. Gold did 27.7%. In 2014, Bitcoin crashed by 56%. Gold did 0.19%, negative 0.1. It also crashed. Now in 2015, Bitcoin did 34.23%. Gold did negative 11.42%. And in 2016, Bitcoin did 124.26%. Gold did 9.12%. 2017, Bitcoin did 1,336.41%. Gold did 11.85%. In 2018, Bitcoin did negative 73.39%. Gold did negative 1.15%. In 2019, Bitcoin did 94.05% and the likes. And so you are seeing that the next crash for Bitcoin was in 2020 when it did negative 64.24%, right? And so you realize there is a pattern with Bitcoin. And let me show you the pattern. It crashes and then it will gain for 3 years. It will crash. It will gain for 3 years. It will crash and it's going to gain for 3 years. You understand? And so it's more like you can actually predict what Bitcoin will do. Okay, so it is looking like in 2025, Bitcoin is going to record gains. And then in 2026, it's going to crash. And I personally believe, yes, that everything shows that in 2026, Bitcoin is going to crash. And I personally believe that is the time you aggressively get into it and then purchase it. And so it will crash, 3 years gains, and then crash again, 3 years gain, crash again, 3 years gain, crash again, and so on and so forth. Now, that being said, let's look at the last 10 years and let's see the annualized return of Bitcoin in the last 10 years. So in the last 10 years, averagely, gold will be giving you 10% every single year, right? In the last 10 years. And for those who would like to calculate, using the compound interest calculators, you understand that Bitcoin in the last 10 years has averaged 84.5%. So it simply means that in the last 10 years, if you were purchasing, let's say $100 worth of Bitcoin in the last 10 years, you would have been a millionaire, close to being a millionaire, because it was giving 84.5% annualized. And so averagely every single year in the last 10 years, you were going to make 84.5%. And I believe, as I'm saying now, these past 10 years were years where governments were a little adamant in coming into the space. Governments were on the edge, questioning the whole crypto space, right? And it clearly looks like as in the next 10 years, it looks like in the next 10 years, government is trying to embrace, right? It looks like government is trying to embrace cryptocurrency. I am a Ghanaian, and let me show you a tweet coming from the Bank of Ghana. Let me just show you what the Bank of Ghana is saying, and then the outlook for the next 10 years. So this is what the governor for Bank of Ghana is saying, that crypto is like the air we breathe. You can't stop it, so let's regulate it properly. And so for the past 10 years, governments didn't even want to hear about crypto. Immediately, governments were banning crypto here and there. Today you hear India, they've banned crypto. Tomorrow, China, they've banned. Every single government, right? They didn't even want to hear about crypto. But it looks like in the next 10 years, these people are going to embrace it. And so the adoption rate is going to go high. So even in the last 10 years where all these people tried to bring down crypto, it did 84.5%. So imagine what it's going to do as funds are coming in, as governments are coming in, and people with huge sums of money are coming in. What do you think is going to happen in the next 10 years? So this is my case for crypto. I personally believe, I personally, of course, you need to diversify, right? I'm not going to tell you put all your money in crypto. You need to diversify. You need to get some government bonds. You need to get some stocks, right? Invest in the stock market, whichever country you are in. In Ghana stock market does extremely well, right? On Ghana stock markets, you are easily going to make 20 or 30% per year, which is very good, right? And so diversify, get some money into stocks, get some money into treasury bill. The current rate of treasury bill in Ghana, the 91-day treasury bill in Ghana is about 14%, right, annually. So that one is also cool. If you're a Ghanaian, get some treasury bill, get some stocks, but at the end of the day, put some money also into Bitcoin, right? I'm not a financial advisor, but I'm just telling you what I will be doing. I'll be putting some money also aside just to diversify, right? So that's the case for Bitcoin. This is the reason why I think Bitcoin is going to go parabolic in the next 10 years. But for next year, I believe it's going to crash. So let me know your thoughts in the comment box. Thank you.